Hello, everybody. This is another episode of I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall. It's been a minute. I feel like it's been a minute, guys, because sometimes we pre record these, sometimes I do them on the day of. But this is one where I wanted to talk to this young lady and post it the same day that I'm talking to her because I'm so excited to introduce you to our next guest. Let me tell you a little bit about Nicole. Nicole is the founder and managing principal of Sodoma Law. For the past 25 years, Nicole has pioneered a way through the often dreaded field of family law with integrity, something we don't see, compassion, that's not unheard of, and tenacity. As a marriage and loving divorce attorney, Nicole was shocked on the day she chose herself, her happiness, and her future over her 13-year marriage. Ooh, girl, I cannot wait to get it. In her debut book, Please Don't Say You're Sorry, being released on May 24th, 2022, so that's very soon, Nicole provides a witty, honest, and wildly relatable account of the stripped down realities of marriage, separation, and divorce. Using her personal stories and sometimes unbelievable experiences as a family law attorney of 2 decades, Nicole layers in laughter, compassion, and legal savvy to deliver empowering principles that'll help guide readers through both the humorous and not so humorous realities of divorce. So, right after this dance break, we have Nicole coming in.
I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. Naja Hall.
Nicole, hey, how are you?
Oh, doing so fine. Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that I kind of like, so guys, Nicole, we talked before we started recording, and one of the things that she shared with me, she's like, I'm a Southern girl, where are you from? Because you all know, depending on who I'm talking to or the day, my Southern twang will come out more. Here in New York, I find that I have to hide it because they'll assume, these Yankees will assume that you're old country bumpkin. But Nicole's like, girl, where are you from? I said, I'm from Tennessee, and you're from the Carolinas, right?
That's right. Born and raised.
Oh my gosh.
And
yes.
If you give me wine, my accent actually gets worse. Or better. I don't know, depending on where you're from.
So what you're trying to tell me is we should have done this interview after 7:00, and we should have just called it like Cocktails with Naja and Nicole or something.
Yeah, we would have had a different time, but we're still gonna have fun today. I was just saying.
Yes. So one of the things that you mentioned that I found that it's completely not aligned with a lot of the people that listen to this and myself, the experiences in family law court, you mentioned compassion, tenacity, some nice words. And so you being on the other side of it after experiencing your own divorce, was there some stark differences that you've seen now that you were the one in the seat of the client as opposed to you representing people before?
Oh, yes. Okay, first of all, I have to say, I should say this. Anytime you want to describe me as a young lady, I'm all in. Okay. So let's start with that. All right.
You are a young lady. I'm looking at you.
Good grief. I don't feel like a young lady anymore. I have 3 boys. We'll tell my boys that I'm a young lady today. Thank you. So let's see. When I think, like, when you say the words tenacity and compassion, I immediately think, oh gosh, I hope she doesn't think those are like easy marketing terms. Because when I first was trying to describe like how I wanted my practice as a family law attorney to feel, I was thinking of like how would other people describe me? And true story. Okay, so just put it in context. 22 years I've been practicing law.
You started when you were 10 years old.
Exactly. And in fact, I went to school in Alabama, by the way, a little more Southern roots, right? So I opened a law firm in 2008. So I'm like, 13 years or something out. And the law practice is now we have 22 lawyers, maybe 23 tomorrow. We'll see. And we are known for family law, and we've got 4 offices, and I eat, sleep, and breathe this practice area. And wow. about 3 years into practicing and owning the practice, and running it or whatever, I had a really experienced lawyer call me out of the blue And she said that she wanted to practice law with us. And I said, okay. We were about 12 people. No, we were probably more than that. We were probably about 20 people at the time. And I said, gosh, I just don't know if she would fit in with us. Culture is still really important to me. And I called a friend of mine who's a judge, and I said, this lawyer, she's really experienced, she's really smart. Like, help me. Is she the right person to practice law with us? And she said, if she is smart, tenacious, and compassionate, then she fits in. And if she's not all of those things, you should pass on her. And so that is how we ended up choosing those words. So I don't take those words lightly because they mean something to me, because it's easy to like come up with marketing terms when you're a law firm, but like actually living it and breathing it and representing that to your client every day and to yourself, because you have to have some integrity in this practice. It is not an easy practice area.
Okay. So I'm so glad that you prefaced it with explaining your definition of compassion, because we see the word, especially in different industries, thrown around, and it is a hot word. But look, question, so did you end up hiring that particular attorney?
No.
Okay.
No.
And this was okay.
It's a long time ago though.
It's a long time ago. So this wasn't even going to be my next question, but then so if somebody wants to represent you in your firm, then what is it going to take?
Well, oh wait, what's the question?
So
yeah,
because you said, okay, that particular person wasn't a fit. And so then who is a fit? Or no, even better, who is not a fit? Like what type of attorneys, because I know you get tons of interviews. I know you do. Tons of resumes. So then who's not a fit? When they come in there, you're like, yeah, this ain't gonna fit in with the company culture.
Right. From a lawyer perspective, when and I do get a lot of resumes or CVs or whatever you want to call them. If for young lawyers, if it says I wanted to become a lawyer because I like to argue, or my parents said I like to argue, I actually pass on the resume. Like, it really drives me crazy. Sorry, and I think the reason.
Please try again.
Is that me or you?
That wasn't me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I am in an old building, but okay.
Okay.
So if their resume or their CV says I like to argue, or because my parents told me I like to argue, I usually pass on them as a candidate. And for the most part, because enjoying an argument is not what makes you a good lawyer, in my opinion. Because being able to find a resolution, because it is not a one-size-fits-all practice area, is harder than arguing, because you have, most of the time. I had a client a long time ago. She sent me she sends me Christmas cards every year, and she said, I am so sorry that the year that we got to know each other was the worst year of my life. I probably wasn't nice. I definitely was thankless, but look at my babies. They're beautiful and happy, and look, you helped get us here. So you're dealing with clients who are going through something that they probably have never been through. They are not themselves. Some of them are struggling with, most of them are struggling with the emotional aspects, of separation and divorce. And sort of circling back to what you had asked me before, like, it wasn't until I went through my own divorce that I realized there were all these things that my clients weren't telling me. And so, my advice changed, once I went through it. So, and I mean, it's still changing. Every day is a new day. And, you ride the roller coaster of freedom and grief from the time you decide, or somebody decides for you, that you're not going to be in this relationship anymore. You have to decide whether it's you have to own, is it okay that we weren't good spouses, but we can still be good parents? And then you have to recognize, okay, this is about choice. So these are all things that lawyers are not talking to you about, because lawyers are talking to you about strategy, finances, when to make deposits, when to pay this bill. I mean, the paralysis that comes from separating when you're trying to divide assets and pay bills and parent and work. I mean,
Oh,
It
and
really,
heal your heart possibly. And you're dealing
oh
with
yeah.
emotional stuff. That's like a nightmare.
And when is there time for that? So,
Right, right. You're
right.
still
I
trying to
mean,
shuffle, living a normal life, earn a living, feed your kids, and oh, my heart is broken, or I'm severely disappointed, or I'm angry, or I've been disrespected, whatever the case may be.
yes.
So yeah.
And
So
you only have control over you, right? So that's just what's going on here. But what
yeah.
about how you're managing how someone else is dealing with their own grief, or celebration, or whatever is happening for that other person? So
Do you really see people celebrating though when it's time? Because I know there has to be a bit of pain, even if you're ready for it to be over. There's still like that thing of, dang, I failed. Now we got to figure out this stuff with the kids and the money. Like, is there really like a party? Is there a celebration?
at some point that freedom train takes over, but not for everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely not for everybody. A word that I do not use anymore in my practice is the word normal.
Mm,
I had a client once. I said, listen, kind of going back to that, your lawyers are going to tell you things differently, and for me,
yeah.
it's all about setting expectations. Um, and I'm sure we'll get to this, but I said it's normal for blank blank, whatever I said, right? Like it's normal that the hearing is going to last this long, or it's normal that they're going to respond with that. And
And you took that out because you're like, there is not a normal. That's like the worst word
mm-mm,
to use. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. And it didn't even dawn on me. And she said it is so difficult. There is nothing normal about the process. Okay, now obviously that's an extreme. That is one version of how someone feels.
Yeah.
Because if you are going into it open-eyed, you are seeing that you're going into business with someone. You can choose to bury your head in the sand. You can choose to be a part of those decisions. But, it's all about what you want to put in, because
Yeah.
if either one of you wants out at some point, you have the freedom to do that. That's your choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think, that is probably the thing that has been most surprising to me post-divorce, that people, even when I say to clients, friends, at the dinner table, at the wine bar, wherever I am, I say, it takes two of you to say I do, and one of you to say I don't. So you can, especially my unmarried friends and or second marriages, like they still don't see it, that you can be madly in love with someone, and that
Yeah.
person, something happens in their life that you can't control, and they decide this is not really what I want anymore. And you don't have
And
a choice in that.
and you're kind of just, you got to go with it. I mean, I know you've probably, and I've definitely seen some people that fight against that, but
Mhm.
I don't think we have a big respect for people, especially our romantic partners' ability to sometimes, people change their minds. People change their circumstances, like you said, Nicole, that make it so you can't be coupled with a person. And it hurts. It
It
really,
does.
but it's, and doing business with some, because marriage, the business of marrying and the business of divorce, the business of co-parenting, like that's very, very difficult. I just show kudos and major respect to people that have somehow managed to find, and I know we said we ain't gonna use the N word, but the new normal in their lives.
Yeah.
Because it's like things have been flipped, turned upside down for you. Look at me quoting Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So in the cases, let me ask you, so what did you learn being on one side? I know you said, let me not use the word normal, because you didn't realize what that was doing to clients until it happened to you. What did you see that was different coming in, because you're a professional? I imagine that, were you a good client to whomever your,
Terrible.
your lawyer?
I was a terrible client.
Yeah.
Terrible. Do as I say, not as I do. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't
So
even
you,
know. I had a backup set of ears, and basically whatever that person said, I said, okay. Like that, I don't think that's gonna actually happen. Let's see. um, so you tell your client it is a marathon, not a sprint.
uh-huh.
I say in the book, it's like, I think I said in there, it's a sprint like with stilettos. Like
Yeah.
you are like barely getting through, and your legs are cramping and your toes
Yeah.
are hurting, and you don't see the end. But I'll tell you, I knew what was coming next. I knew how long it was going to take to get into a courtroom if that was what was going to happen. I knew what the preparation was going to be, the discovery process, what kind of toll it was probably going to take on the kids, on me, on him. And I'll tell you what, those days are long. And it is, I did not expect the fog. And I still tell all my clients, I told them before, I'll tell them again, like, I need you, I'll tell her, set up an email address that is just for this. Call it, my divorce this year at gmail.com, whatever you want to call it. And then every time you think there is something that you might need or that I might need from you, send it to that email. It's a picture, it's a screenshot, it's a note to yourself, send to that email. And when this thing is over, the email can die with it. But we got to get back to the place, to the beginning, because really that's what a divorce attorney should be doing for you. The divorce attorney is setting you up for a new start. So it's not ending a marriage. And I mean, it's a mindset, right? So once you get past those feelings of grief and knowing that this is a chapter that's going to end, changing your mindset. No, I get a new beginning. I get to create what I want. I'm older, I'm smarter, I'm wiser. I know what to look for. When I see those red flags, when I see myself shutting down and not being able to communicate with my partner, that's when I know, like, we need to get help, or we need to make other decisions that are gonna be worse. So, and I say I'm a marriage, love, and divorce attorney because I love the idea of marriage. I've put lots of couples back together. I say I scared them back into it. Well, I mean, divorce.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So are you saying you've put them back together when you're saying, well, you guys really don't need a divorce? Or are you saying, hey, I understand that you're divorcing, but you guys can still remain amicable? Like, how are you putting them back together, Nicole?
The client will come to me and you can tell they're just setting themselves up for an education and they don't know what they're going to do. And I give them counselors' names and, go work. You're not ready for me. This is not where you need to be. You got to keep trying. You got to try a little harder. Yeah.
Okay. So then you've been doing this for 20 years. You started when you were
a little bit longer. So I started when I was 10.
You started when you were 10 years old. So you
actually did graduate high school at 16. I did skip a year. Yes. I was ready.
You're just smart. You're just like smart. You skipped a grade. You're one of those like kid geniuses or something.
I was bored. I don't know.
Okay.
I was the youngest of all my siblings. Everybody was gone, getting their start in life. Yes. Yeah. There were 4 boys.
You're here with mom and so you're the only girl.
Yes.
Oh.
And the youngest.
So you have like these big brothers watching over you, scaring off all your boyfriends.
Couldn't get a date to save my life.
Because everybody knew your big brothers and they knew they'd get beat up. That's good though. So then you've been in the game for a very long time. And I know there has to be some sort of formula that we see at the beginning of a marriage. Not that you were there to experience the beginning of your clients' marriages, but I'm sure they told you stories. Is there like a particular personality type, thing, trigger, red flag that you could tell these people that are listening to look for? Because I love hearing from divorce attorneys like this is what we need to be listening to, y'all, when we're dating and looking for love and longevity. Aside from abuse and things like that. But what are the things that you see in the commonalities? First, I want to talk about the women that shouldn't be divorced. And then I want to talk about the guys. So what are the commonalities? Let's start with men first. The dudes that we should kind of be like, he ain't marriage material, or girl, this is not gonna last.
Oh, this is so good because I always ask in my consults, I always ask how they met. So I always want to take people back to this where they were human, right? Like,
yes, before they were the enemy.
Right.
Yes.
The people we married or the people we not divorced, tell me who that person was then. Not the same person now. So I can't speak to like the red flags when they first met. But I can tell you that no matter where they come in to have a consult with me, that when I hear somebody doesn't have access to all their accounts, they don't have passwords, phones are password protected, the mobile phone account is password protected, that one of the things that it does make me a little crazy and it hurts my heart is when somebody says, I'm afraid to ask. Like
for your own spouse's.
Like he knows that something will be up if I ask, or she knows that if I want access to the whatever, that she'll know. Like, why are you not communicating? Why don't you have the information? And
why don't you feel comfortable, even if you're not snooping? Like, why do you?
Where along the way did it become not okay to ask for that? So, the first half of this book was about what we could be doing differently in our marriage. Like, what can where did we lose on the communication side? Because I don't know. Well, I spontaneously combusted. I was the least likely human to get divorced. I grew up in a super divorced family. My parents are still very divorced. I was in a courtroom when I was a kid. They're still weird around each other. I experienced and saw way too much for a kid. And then, of course, ended up being a divorce lawyer. So, and then ended up getting my own divorce. So it's really been the majority of my life. This is what this is not an uncomfortable subject for me. So, and nothing surprises me, but it does fascinate me. And like I said, like make my heart hurt a little bit when you hear, well, I don't have access to that account and it makes me uncomfortable to ask, or he'll be mad, and so I'll say like, okay, I don't want there to be any financial leverage. So I want you to be focused on here and now. I don't want you to be worried on he's going to cut me off or she's going to cut me off or whatever it is. So what I want you to do is, knowing that you're going to move out tomorrow, I want you to go into one of the joint accounts and just take half the money, leave half. It is considered collaborative. It's not considered, aggressive to take half of an account usually. And then of course, say that I told you to do it. Say we have some boundary issues. I met with a lawyer. She made me really nervous. And so I just took half the account. And it's not like the money is no longer available or that it's no longer half theirs, right?
Right.
No.
They are like, I don't have access to the accounts and I'm really afraid to do that. So that tells you, Nicole, there's some other underlying stuff, some really deep stuff.
Right. Email addresses that you don't know about. Deleting internet history.
Sneaky. So are you seeing people mostly come in? Because I remember the statistic. I don't know where I got it, but it said that the number one cause of divorce was finances above infidelity. Is that still true? Or you would know way better than I would?
No, we polled 100 of our clients and we saw more on the adultery side than financial. And we saw mental health as another option. We listed it, but we put mental health and abuse in that same category because abuse is so, what was a domestic violence and abuse when I was growing up is not, it might be defined the same, but subjectively it is not the same as it was, 30 years ago.
Things have changed. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Things have changed. So whether it's drug abuse or sexual abuse or verbal abuse is very subjective. Like you yelling at me, if you want to try it out, you can yell at me and I'll tell you whether I think it's verbal abuse.
Nicole, you know what? Your pants match your shirt and I really want your outfit. You're really pissing me off because your outfit's cuter than mine today. Like, is that abuse? Or
I
is
don't
that
know.
me yelling? Right. It's subjective.
Yes, you're making me sweat. Yes.
Yeah.
So
okay. So then what about with the women though? Because I know are you seeing this from both sides, male and female clients? Oh. Okay, so give some advice to these fellas out here. He's thinking about proposing, or he's been in a long-term relationship, or he's iffy about his marriage. I want the men to have some advice because we have a lot of male listeners. Shout out to all the guys. What should they be looking for when they should say, okay, this girl ain't probably going to be cut out for a long-term marriage?
I hate to be like, I'd love looking at things through rose-colored glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, we all have our intuition and our guts. And sometimes I'll say women are more likely to listen to their intuition based on my experience in the conference rooms I'm sitting in than men. I usually, and it's usually when it comes to adultery, when men are not the ones doing the cheating, it takes longer for them to realize what's going on in general, unless it's just thrown right there in their face and there's an admission, this is what's happening.
So it's like the dudes are kind of oblivious, or they're not paying attention, or they're not wanting to see, or are women just better at hiding these things?
It's the same. It's the same evidence. It's just who's perceiving it, right? Who's receiving it, what their perception is. The other thing is I'll hear more often emotional affairs.
Okay.
Nobody can hear me nodding my head no, but I'm gonna nod my head no. And I know that's not a popular. It's not a popular opinion to say that emotional affairs are just emotional affairs, but there have not been very many emotional affairs in my practice that have actually only been emotional affairs.
So that means either somebody's lying about how far things went, or if it was a true emotional affair, it never got to the point where the couple's thinking about divorcing because they worked it out. That still feels like a betrayal of loyalty, though. Like you're giving your...
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, I agree. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time when somebody says it's an emotional affair, it just takes some time for the rest of the evidence to come out.
Oh, okay.
So, it's really disappointing and disheartening, but I do hear that more from my male clients than I do my female clients.
So let's switch gears. Let's talk about the book, because I love the book. I love the title. When did you know, after your experiences, personal and professional, that you're ready to put pen to paper and start helping people and sharing bits of your story? That's got to be a little difficult, because this is what you do for a living, but you're being kind of, pretty transparent. So when did you know that you're ready to, you're like, all right, I'm ready to start teaching people and helping. I'm going to write this book.
All right. Years ago, like maybe, I don't even know when, I thought I was going to write a book that was going to be a bathroom book. Like, do you remember the days of bathroom books where it's like a really short book, and while you're in the bathroom, you can read through it? Well, have you noticed that like Instagram has totally taken that over? There are no more bathroom books.
Right. We barely need coffee table books anymore. Like, we just don't need that.
We're all on our phones or whatever. I call it the Instagram because I'm Facebook generation. So my publisher was like, well, how's your Instagram platform? And I was like, what?
You're like, I don't know if I'm on the Instagram, little sweetie. Come on, Nicole. I don't believe that. You have an Instagram, TikTok, and all that stuff.
No, I have one TikTok, and it's buried deep.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Instagram is I got to figure that out. Anyway,
you kind of took over the need. So you're like, let me just do a long form book.
Well, so what it was, I was like, here are the top. It was supposed to be funny because I have to bring humor into everything. It's actually like on my job requirement. Like, please don't apply if you don't have a sense of humor.
Right. So, you gotta have a sense of humor up in here. Yes.
And family law, we're dealing with people at their worst. And so we get overlooked. So anyway, so I did this, top 30 things that you should know. And, one of them I'll remember is like, don't have a threesome and think that your marriage is going to stay intact, right?
Oh.
I mean, there were some funny ones, there were some dirty ones, and I had the most fun writing it. Well, I got real serious after I separated about what I should really do. And I met her name is Jocelyn Duffy, and she ended up being my co-write with me. And I still said, like, I really want it to be a short book. I want to get on a plane and finish it on the ride. And we started talking, and damn, she said, Nicole, there is so much that people don't know. And we just need to, you need to use this platform. And so my goal was, I never thought I'd get divorced. And then being on the other side of the table, I thought, oh my gosh, there's so many things that my clients weren't telling me. My advice is so different having been through it I mean, I thought I had plenty of life experience, 20
Yeah.
years of practice experience, but there was a lot more that I could be doing. And so that's how the book came to be. And so the first half of it it's basically broken up into 3 sections: marriage, separation, and divorce. I put in some of my favorite resources because don't do it alone.
Yeah.
You don't do it alone. You need the right people to be supporting you, and those are not the people that say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Can I like do anything? I gotta go. And then when you're like still sad a month later, they're like, "Are you not over this yet?" Like the time frame on how long you can be sad or happy, and the people that are going to help you get through it. So the right
You need real support.
information,
Find the
yes.
right support system.
So the right resources, the right support system, the right education. And like, I had the advantage of knowing what was coming next. But your lawyer might like sort of 50,000 feet that and might not update you along the way. Like my hope was, let me tell you what it's really going to look like and what you can really be prepared for. And, one of the biggest differences was, my clients weren't telling me what it was like being on the football field and your kiddo walking off the field with another, a parent of another family, and it wasn't you. And so learning how to find those coping mechanisms and those were all the things that nobody was talking about with me. So
who is the book for though? Because you're talking love, marriage, and divorce. So should a person that's in a pretty cool marriage, no sign of divorce, should they pick up the book? Or if you're thinking about divorce, is this for you? Who is like the ideal person that needs to get this?
I think the ideal person is, I envisioned it as like nobody ever knows what to tell people who are going through a divorce. So I thought, well, if we don't really know what to tell them, why don't we hand them something? Why don't we get, if you're thinking that things aren't okay, you should be picking it up. And I will either convince you to go get some counseling that will make your marriage healthier, or you will see that all these red flags are in your marriage and that you're not going to change the other person. The best you can do is work on yourself. So, and I'm going to, it goes through and talks about those things, and it gives examples, hypotheticals from my practice. It gives you my own experiences. And I stayed pretty quiet in my own divorce. So that surprised me too, because I'm not a great advocate for myself, but I feel really passionate about lifting people up and making sure that I leave them better than I found them. So that's my hope, that when you put it down, that you've got this sense of relief, that you have a better sense of where you are and where you want to go, and that you have a really realistic, expectation about what that looks like.
So you have the 3 boys, and you are now a person that went from being a wife in a romantic situation with their father to now a person who is trying to navigate raising these human beings into productive members of society. What happens when you guys have different ideals of what that looks like? What's kind of the best way to navigate that?
So normally,
I'm saying best, and guys, listen, I'm saying best, like that's not fair. Let me switch that, because this is, I like to say best practices. When I give advice, I say, well, it's best practice based on research, but I always like to leave that caveat, but y'all are going to do what you want to do anyway. So just instead of me saying best, let me take that back. What's a way that you've seen or you found success in navigating that strong difference of, this is how I want to do it over here, this is how you want to do it?
Love your children more than you dislike yourself.
You could say that again, Nicole.
Right? I mean, wouldn't it just be nice if it was that simple?
Oh, honey. We wouldn't have this podcast if it was that simple. You wouldn't have your book if it was that simple.
It just, every day, I think, just love them more than you dislike the other person, because it is in my everyday, it is in my practice, it is in my life. Like, I get it. Always be thinking about what is in their best interest and relying on professionals. Now, I will say that, like, rely on professionals, but I was just saying, I had a meeting earlier today and I was telling the other lawyer that one of the things, okay, this is that candid part, right? Of that part.
We like those parts.
Well, one of the things that I really thought was going to be easier was, I thought if I had all the right counselors in place and I have the right support team and I've got I understand how to navigate the court system. I mean, hell, I've been doing it for a long time, right?
You like, I do this. This is
yes, and I'm a parenting coordinator, which means that I'm actually I actually have a history, a certification, if you will, to help parents in high conflict custody cases. And I actually act as a neutral in those cases. So I've got all this experience, and I'm thinking that with all of those things lined up, I will be in the best position to protect my boys.
Who's in a better position than you? I mean, you're like, dude, I do this for a living. Come on, I've done this 1,000 times. But when real life comes to smack you in the fanny, it's different.
You can't anticipate bad things, right? You can, but the court system isn't going to be able to do that for you. That, if I filed something today, I'm not getting into court for a few months. If I have a parenting coordinator help me resolve the issue, it's not like she's on my speed dial and that she's going to call me back in the same day. And as a parent, and especially as a working parent, that comes up all the time. I mean, and if we didn't all just experience that with COVID, I mean, you think about, we had this whole, we had months of, do you vaccinate or do you not vaccinate? And children, we have parents who were supposed to be making those decisions together, but court orders that were supposed to be their guide weren't providing that authority.
They weren't even applicable. We just saw, it was kind of like the wild, wild west with COVID and co-parenting. I did a whole series on COVID and co-parenting because I saw literal wars happening amongst people.
Yes. I mean, withholding the children because they were afraid they were,
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, they were having symptoms. I mean, even before that, it was a little wild west, but that gave us new, I guess we learned new patience. But there's still a slew of things that no matter how much you think you are prepared for them, you're not going to be. And so you have to figure out how to manage those expectations as a parent, as a working person, as a divorced person, new married person, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. You just got to
figure out how to manage it. So next question, when it comes to divorce, co-parenting, we do talk a lot about that. Is there an ideal time? Because I've heard of I think you know the question I'm about to ask you. When we're talking about new partners, because that's something that adds fuel to the fire when you have a situation, and we typically only focus on high conflict situations here. People ain't really coming to this podcast to hear about the peachy keen stories, but so we're already thinking about an era of conflict, and there's a new partner, somebody's falling in love, and they want to introduce their children to their new boo. Is there a way to go about it when the children have parents that had a high conflict divorce, or one parent is still, maybe targeting or alienating the other parent? How can that parent that wants to say, hey, listen, I've moved on with my life, I'm sorry you haven't, I want my new person to kind of be a part of my thing over here with our kids? What's an approach? Just help us out, Nicole.
My approach is to find the person best suitable to make sure that you're doing it right. Like I tried my hardest to stay in my lane. And so if I'm going to introduce, I'll be in my first person. Like if I'm going to introduce my children to someone, or if my client says, I met this human and I want to introduce my children, I am going to say the first thing I want you to do is to read a book, go see a counselor,
Yeah, you're gonna say
listen to a
pause.
podcast.
Wait.
Yes.
Yeah.
And make sure you're doing it right, because when it comes back, because the other person's pissed because they fear that they're going to be replaced,
Yeah.
be able to say with integrity and honesty, this is all the stuff I did to make sure that I was doing it right, because I'm more invested in making sure that I'm doing it right than I am how you're going to feel or how my partner's going to feel, because they are my first responsibility. So that is, and I think for the most part, I do that in all parts of separation and divorce and all the issues that go with it, because, even though they call us, I say they, whoever the they is, they call us divorce attorneys. There is, we do so many different pieces of all things related to family. So, we're just talking about that custody piece, but realistically, like when separation divorce happens, as you know, like we're not just dealing with actually being unmarried and parenting. We're dealing with the financial support and division of assets and all those things. I said,
you're
like,
literally dealing with so many different moving parts of it. You
right.
are.
And so I would caution your listeners too, because when a deal is too good to be true, it's probably not right. There's this really sweet looking lady. She's on a billboard between Charlotte and Atlanta. And she looks so kind. She looks way nicer than me. And she's doing, the professional arm cross. And she's looking down, like the arm cross.
We just talked about the arm cross.
No, I hate the arm cross. You have to, when you go to my page, you have to look at my boxing picture. Like, I got so sick of the arm cross, I have a boxing picture.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you
I
would not
literally
believe.
just made a Facebook post and I tagged 13 of my friends, and I went and found all of, because I'm guilty of the arm cross. Oh, I'm Naja Hall. Like, I do it too. We need to find like a new universal power girl pose though. I like the boxing.
You got to look at the boxing. Go on whatever.
Like,
and yes, the boxing.
So you're talking about this lady with this like nice, she looks really nice with the arm cross thing sign.
$500. Get your divorce. $500. No way. Please. Like, she's not doing that. She's not dealing with all the other issues. So like, if things are too good to be true, they're probably not. When it comes to, I would say, like, if you ask your lawyer, how much is it going to cost? And if they tell you, go in the other direction. Like, they can't predict it. They can't predict how long discovery is going to take, whether COVID's going to happen and your judge is going to get COVID and your hearing is going to be delayed 3 months or 6 months, or whether, something is going to happen that's going to delay the process. And every time there is a delay, it costs money. It costs everybody money and time. It costs
money because you have to show up to court. That means the client has to pay the billable hours. It means you, like, oh God.
Well, and you got to prepare for it. And then if your case gets continued, that means you got to prepare again and you got to perform discovery. So I, in my candor, when people say, like, how much it's going to cost, it's a marathon. I can't predict who the other party is going to hire, because if they hire someone who only knows how to litigate and doesn't
drag
know
it
how,
out.
So that's why I go back to, like, picking your lawyer is, how do you resolve a case? I mean,
one thing that I found, Nicole, is people tend to hire attorneys that are extensions of themselves and their own personalities. Like, if you just want this to be done, you're a peace-loving, compassionate person, you're going to find somebody to represent you. But if you are an asshole, manipulative, liar, you're literally going to find a mouthpiece like that. I've seen it happen so many times. I don't know, like, I've seen it happen.
I'm always curious about whether you hire a man or a woman. Would you hire a man or a woman? Would it matter?
I've had experiences with both. So, like, personally, us last time in family court, we had a guy, and he just completely flopped. It was so bad to the point to where I told my husband, I was like, this dude doesn't even enunciate. He doesn't speak up. He just, it was just a bad situation. I was going to ask you about that. So what do you do if you say, oh my God, my lawyer they're not who I thought they were. They sold me in the meeting, but they're not doing the things that I asked them. What do you do about that? Can people just say, hey, you're fired, but that means you have to start over with someone else? What would you advise a person in that position to do?
from a client perspective, if they are
Yeah.
not, if they don't think they're happy, they need to be preparing themselves to move. So,
Oh,
your file is your file except for the attorney's notes. So you should be receiving a copy of every single thing that goes in your file except for
so
notes.
everything from discovery, you guys need to
Yes.
make sure you have that. Yeah, discovery, that's important because you pay for that stuff, right?
Yes. And the more organized you are, and the more digital actually the attorney is, the easier it's going to be to get your file. But,
Mm.
so, and also, this is going to sound crazy, but even though the attorney is working for you, I think it really helps because I haven't had a lot of clients leave me. I think on one hand in 20 years, my
Mhm.
clients usually stick around they usually stick around. I was looking like not here in my office. They're not actually sticking around, but I did see somebody
I don't
here
see them
earlier.
behind you.
Good. But you should, what the attorney should do is it should be leaving the relationship whole. And that attorney,
Yeah.
ideally, if you're on good terms with that attorney and you simply want to go in another direction, then you should be able to say, can you get my new attorney up to speed? I feel like I need a different voice in the courtroom. We're not
Mhm.
connecting. If it's professional, in my opinion, they should do that for you.
I
But a lot of
mean,
times they don't. And if it's a strained relationship and money is owed, and
well, yeah.
but you kind of see that coming. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
as the client, you see it coming, and sometimes they fear. Once you've changed lawyers,
They're not going to get paid, or there's
well, I
just.
was going to say after 3 times, lawyers are like, I don't know if it's the lawyer or if it's the client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the judge is thinking the same thing. So, I don't want to go into the courtroom and lose. I want to take the cases that I know that I can win and that I believe in, right?
Right.
So, and if the client's been at 3 other law firms, you go, the judge might think that it's my client. And
Absolutely, they
it's
are.
not like you get you might be your 15 minutes in the courtroom, and I can't do what I need to do in 15 minutes. So I might not
And the
want to
judge
take
is
it.
seeing you with a different person every single time. They're going to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like job hopping. Like
Mhm.
when don't you look at people's resumes when they are
Absolutely.
looking, and how many times have they changed jobs, and you go,
Absolutely.
okay, well, it might not be the employer.
Yeah. Yeah. So then
So
when it comes to money is something that gets super funny when we're talking divorce and splitting. If you know that it's coming, let's just say you're a person and you're super organized. I know it is good advice to say, hey, okay, I know I'm entitled to half, so I'm going to just separate my half. But what about hidden money? Is that when you start to have to hire these forensic accountants? Is that what they're called? How does that process go?
well, some of it is common sense. I know that sounds
Okay.
crazy,
No,
but
it does, because we don't, common sense. What's that? Like, we don't do that.
so, well, let's just break it down to like a private investigator. So if I'm going to have hire a private investigator, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to hire this PI. I call the PI. I say, I've got a opposing party. They're going to say, where do they live? Where do they work? What are their work hours? What kind of car do they drive?
Okay.
All right.
Hmm.
And most of the time they charge by the hour. Now, if I don't give them any of that information, how much money did I just cost myself?
You wasted a lot of money.
Why are we doing that?
So basically, you need to have all your stuff organized, is what you're saying. Have all your ducks in a row so that I can help you to do your job.
I mean, if
Help
you
me help
want,
you, or help you help me.
now some people say, I always say, like, I can hold your hand, get you to do the work, save you on fees, or you're going to pay more, and I've got a team of people that are going to do it for you, but it's just going to cost you more. We actually, at one point, we had a divorce concierge, and the idea was, it sounds fancy, but it was literally someone who could do all your organizing, because what I learned in my divorce was it was a full-time job. You're a parent, you're working, and you're getting divorced, and damn, it's a lot of work. And your lawyer will say, like, can I have 2 years worth of bank statements? Whew.
And you're like, I have to feed the kids, and I'm at work, and I have therapy, and like that's a lot. I like the idea of divorce concierge. So then the book is coming out. It's going to be out. And good thing about those of you that are listening, you'll be able to get it. There's going to be a link right down below where you can go and get it. But Nicole, as we get ready to close out, because I told you, I mean, I could literally probably talk to you for like another 2 hours, but because I have so many questions, but tell them where they can find you, especially if they want to hire you. I know I'd freaking hire you, but also just give them some info on where they can get your book.
The Instagram handle, I think, as we still call it handles, say
get it from the Instagram.
The Instagram is Nicole is Nicole Sodoma. So it's Nicole Sodoma on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. I think it's maybe Instagram, everywhere. On Twitter. It is everywhere. Good. I'm pretty easy to find. But I have to tell you, and the book is Amazon for pre-order and Barnes & Noble pre-order and some of those big major retailers. You also can go to NicoleSodoma.com. Doesn't that sound salesy?
Yes.
That part of me is so bright, but let me tell you what is to my left.
Okay, let me see.
This is the advanced copy, and I am too chicken to open it. It has been in my car, on my kitchen table.
Nicole, open it now. Nicole,
I can't do it.
I need to see it.
No,
Nicole.
I can't.
Like it's y'all. For those of you that obviously some of you are watching us right now, but there's some of you that are listening. Nicole, let me tell you guys that are listening. She literally has her book, her baby. She's showing it to us. How long have you had that, Nicole?
Just a few days. And
wait a minute. Y'all, let me tell y'all, my first 2 books, when I got those suckers, I didn't even, as soon as they came in the mailbox, I didn't even make it to the house. And she's been sitting here. What's the hold up?
Well, you know, I don't know. I just, like, I'm waiting for the right moment. And I just keep thinking, like, it's going to be, it literally has been in every room. It's been in the bathroom.
You carry it around with you. You carry it around with you.
I'm waiting. You know, my communications director told me that Saturday was World Book Day or something.
Okay, I didn't know that. So maybe Saturday you'll do it?
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe it'll be like a Facebook. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing on the social media thing on the Instagram, but maybe, you know.
I cannot believe. I thought you were about to show us this book, and you are showing me the package that you refused to open. That it came in.
It's gonna be a minute.
Well, you know what, guys? You can go, like she said, and pre-order. Go to NicoleSodoma.com, and she's Nicole Sodoma everywhere online. And of course, there will be links below. If you go and visit her anywhere on social media, especially the Instagram, please tell her that Naja sent you. You know, we like to show love to the people that have made it through an episode of I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall. Shout out to everybody that stuck with us, and those of you that are still listening right now. You know, we produce new episodes every other Tuesday. Every freaking where your favorite podcasts are streamed. I'll see you next time.
I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. Naja Hall.